In this video, we'll be counting down the best metal albums of April 2024. If you have been following my channel this month, every week I put out a video with short reviews of new metal releases of that particular weekend. So for that reason, I'm only doing a top 10 because I covered all of these albums in previous videos. So it's going to be a countdown. I'll probably go through them pretty quickly. I'll basically let you know how they held up at the end of the month. Number 10, I have Accept with Humanoid. This album was just released last Friday, so I haven't spent a lot of time with it, but I think it's worthy of making the top 10. It's a decent Accept album. They write classic heavy metal songs. Songs are a little cheesy, but they talk about different things such as AI technology and Frankenstein and drinking Jack Daniels. And some songs are more hard rock with an AC/DC influence. Other songs were more classic heavy metal. It was a solid album. It didn't have any weak songs. At the same time, it didn't have any songs that's going to make it go down in Accept history as being a classic, but it's a solid release, and for that reason, it just cracks. And number 9 is Melvins with Tarantula Heart. This album is from the classic grunge band. This album in particular was pretty heavy. It was it's a sludgy stoner doom type of album. They started the album off with a 19-minute long song, and that has a lot of psychedelic components and thick, sludgy guitar riffs, and the rest of the album had about 4 more songs, and it's really just a very psychedelic and heavy album, but it's another one worthy of making my top 10 list, even though it's from a grunge band. I thought it was pretty good. I have it at number 8 is Blue Oyster Cult with Ghost Stories. This was an album by one of the first hard rock or even heavy metal bands. They released their first album back in 1971, I believe. This is their last album. It's basically a compilation of tracks that were leftovers that were demixed and remixed and remastered, and they used AI to help them sound better, but you can't really tell there's any AI in this album. We have some cover songs. We have Gotta Get Out of This Place, Kick Out the Jams, If I Fell, the Beatles cover. They have some original songs that sounded like they have material from the 70s. They have, I think it was one song that sounded like the early 80s material. I thought it was pretty good. 7, I have Vandom Pla with the Empyrean Equation of the Long Lost Things. So this is a band I had known about. I had people recommend them to me, but I never listened to them before this album. And they were pretty good. They are a progressive metal band, maybe a little similar to Dream Theater, but for me it's like a prog band from the 70s, but with some elements of traditional heavy metal. There's lots of complex arrangements, lots of tempo changes, some cool guitar playing, and they can get a little heavy. I would say Dream Theater is probably heavier than this band, but this band pays more homage to some of the progressive rock bands of the early 70s. 6, I have Heavy Temple with Garden of Heathens. This is the first of a few doom metal bands I have on my list, and if you've been watching my videos over the past few years, you know I'm not the biggest doom metal fan, but for some reason I am getting into it a lot more this year. There will be 2 more doom bands on this list later on. I like this band. They are a mix of psychedelia with slow and heavy songs. There are parts of this album that remind me of Syd Barrett era Pink Floyd, and for that reason they stood out amongst the... At number 5, I have Castle Rat with Into the Realm. This is another band that's very similar to Heavy Tempo, the band I just mentioned. There are a few aspects of this band that make them unique. The first is the fact that they are a female-fronted band. Second, they have these costumes and they have these strange stage names. There's one person in the band who was just a performer and they just appear on stage with them. The band is from Brooklyn. I've never seen them live, but I've seen a few live clips on YouTube. And it looks like a very theatrical show. It seems like they're paying homage to those old Alice Cooper shows. Lead singer is very good. She wears these fantasy-based outfits and has this cosplaying fantasy makeup on, and they play retro proto-metal. I hear a big Black Sabbath influence. I thought this one was very good. Number 4, I have Full of Hell with Coagulated Bliss. This one was a surprise for me. I've learned about this band before. First time I've actually listened to them. I'm not a big fan of grindcore. I think sometimes this type of music has songs that blend into each other, and I can't tell when one starts and the other stops. But for this band, it was different. They structured their album in a way that makes everything stand out. For example, most of the songs are about a minute long, give or take 30 seconds. There's one song in the middle of the album that's 6 minutes long, and it's very slow. It has that droning type of sound. And the one thing that made me like this band is the fact that a lot of the guitar playing reminds me of alternative and grunge, especially stuff from the early 90s before it was popular. I'm talking about early Nirvana recordings from the Bleach album, but they did that in a very grindcore way. So for that reason, I have this band on this list. I have this band at number 4. If you like what I just described, check them out. Number 3, I have Darkthrone with It Beckons Us All. This album just came out this weekend. I haven't spent much time with it, but I thought it was very good, and I have it at number 3. If you know me, I'm not a big black metal fan, but you might know that I like black metal when it's different from the traditional black metal sound. For me, sometimes black metal is hard to get into. For some reason, sometimes it sounds very noisy to my ears, but this was different. It was like another doom metal band like I was talking about. This is the third Darkthrone album that I reviewed since my channel has been active, and Darkthrone has been playing this style for the past 2 albums, I think even further back, but I haven't listened to them. This is slow and heavy atmospheric doom metal with the traditional black metal vocals, so for me, I like this one a lot. At number 2, I have My Dying Bride, A Mortal Binding. And now I'm at number 2, and look at that, some more doom metal. I will be honest with you, when bands are on the very slow side, they are boring to me. For example, there are bands like Pallbearer or Ahab. I struggle to listen to them, but there's something about My Dying Bride where they change their songs a lot throughout their run time. They do it in a way that keeps me interested. I like how they have these really heavy guitar riffs. They are very slow, they're dissonant. Then you hear these eerie keyboards and violins in the background. The music is very emotional, it's very sad. The band is really good at playing slow music that keeps you interested. My biggest complaint with doom metal bands, sometimes they play the same riff over and over and it gets boring, but with this band, I don't feel that. They make music, it's just very beautiful. For that reason, it was almost my number 1. But my number 1 is a surprise, so that one just came out. Let me get to it. Number 1 is Morgal Blade, Heavy Metal Wraiths. So my number 1 album has 2 things going for it. Number 1, the first time I've ever listened to this band before. Number 2, it just came out this weekend. So those are 2 factors that usually don't make for a number 1 end of the month album, but it doesn't happen often. But this album is just very good, and that's why I have it at number 1. And I think it's the fact that they are very unique. They are a blend of black metal and traditional heavy metal. For example, there are some songs that sound like either Iron Maiden or Saxon, but with vocals of a black metal band like Darkthrone. I think if you have that type of mixture and they stand out amongst the crowd, they are very good like that. Another thing I want to say is this album is very solid. Every song is a very good song. They also have these short instrumentals between a few of the songs. I think help give this album a nice, very fantasy type of feel. I didn't really look into the lyrics, but I think they have a lot of fantasy-based lyrics about Lord of the Rings or something like that. I may be wrong, but I couldn't find the lyrics online. I found lyrics for the title track, and they were very Manowar-ish, if that makes any sense. But this band is just so good and enjoyable. It is my number 1. This weekend's video of short reviews of the new releases. I put it out 2 days ago, but thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this channel. I do rock and metal reviews. And if you subscribe, you can stay up to date on everything I do. I frequently upload. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.